Oh, okay. This meeting of the Eau Claire City Council will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson. Burton.
Here.
Brewster.
Here.
Johnson. Imboga.
Yeah.
Miller.
Here.
Otto.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Schoen.
Here.
Serrano.
Here.
Worthman.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to the Monday, January 12th meeting of the Eau Claire City Council. And Happy New Year to everyone. It's our first meeting of 2026. So just so people are aware of how tonight's meeting will work, our public hearing, staff will present on each item, because we have 2 items on our agenda. And then council can ask questions, and then we will open it up for public comment on each item. And then at the end, if there's a public comment period, there's different rules for that part. But for the agenda items, you will have 4 minutes to speak, and you can speak 1 time on each item. So with that, we'll start with the first public discussion, which is parking, stopping, and standing prohibited. A public discussion on ordinance amending table 7 entitled Parking, Stopping, and Standing Prohibited of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Eau Claire to remove parking restrictions near North High School on Uranus Avenue in response to a petition received. Director Ness.
Good evening, President Berge and council members. Related to a petition that we received in engineering, there was a request to remove the parking restrictions related to parking during school hours between Frisbee Lane and Eddy Lane on Uranus Avenue. We did go to the Airport Neighborhood Association and then also met with North High School liaisons and related to parking around the school, and neither entity had concerns. They support the restricting of removing the restriction of parking in this area. You can see from the map on the right-hand side of the screen that this is one of the furthest corners to the northwest of North High School, so probably has the least amount of impact from the parking restrictions, and is not needed in that area. So that is one of the reasons we will remain or keep the parking restrictions closer to the school, but feel that this one that is furthest away from the school is a good alternative to remove those restrictions. And I can take any questions if there are any.
Questions for Councilmember Schoen?
Thank you, Council President Berge. Director Ness, I'm wondering, could you just share of the petitioners that were petitioned, if they were all in favor of this or how they responded to that petition?
Out of the petition that we received, 12 of the 14 adjacent properties agreed to have the parking restricted lifted.
Thank you. Councilmember Brewster?
Thank you, Council President. So 2 did not, or 2 just didn't respond?
I just know that 2 did not sign the petition. I don't know if they didn't disagree or if they were unable to be contacted.
Same question. Any other? Councilmember Miller?
Thank you, Council President. Director Ness. So this change is being petition or led. So just back in for the overview. So the reason of having these restrictions is to allow freedom of movement on the streets close to school during school hours. Is that the main reason why we have no parking in this area?
We have no parking. Yes, historically I was told parking restrictions near the school during daytime hours, during school hours. 1, for circulation of traffic near the school. Many of the streets are safe routes to school, so there's students walking up and down the streets. Additionally, close to the school, students not parking in the parking lot and parking along the streets. There was litter related to them parking in the neighborhoods and activities happening then that shouldn't be. So that was some of the background of the restrictions being in place.
Okay, and then that question leads me into wondering, would it be possible to consider, or maybe it would be a bad idea, or maybe we just wait for a petition? The other 3 blocks are north of that boundary line. Would one consider removing restrictions there, or would we just leave as is? And if we get a petition in the future, go from there?
We have looked at this in the past with the school and with the neighborhood association, and at those times, it seemed warranted to remain with the restrictions north of Frisbee, right?
I can't tell.
I get the
I think it's
Prairie.
Frisbee.
Frisbee, north of Frisbee, yep. So at that time, it still seemed valid to keep the restrictions during the school day.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Otto?
Well, thank you, Council President. The red line showing no parking, is that just to the north of the school, or is there also more no parking on Mercury and to the south?
There is more no parking to the south. I just was identifying what was near the area of discussion tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Boga?
Thank you, Council President. I have 2 questions. One is, can you, for my knowledge and for anybody who's listening, when was this ordinance enacted? 2, in each year since it was enacted, has the neighbor complained about this one?
I can't speak specifically to each year. I can speak in general to the area that we do get requests from, in general, near the high schools, from residents, questions regarding the parking restrictions and the removal of parking restrictions. We've set forth the process of talking with your neighbors regarding the restriction, and if a petition is something that they want to entertain, to move the process forward to have the petition removed. A couple years ago, we did have a petition submitted in working with the school district and the PD liaison at the school. That location was identified as an area that we needed to keep the restriction in place. So we have moved forward on other petitions that we've received, and they didn't make sense. So we did not bring them, or a change in ordinance, forward to the council. But as to the ordinance, I would have to go back into the books to find the date of the origin of the ordinance.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so thank you, Director Ness.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention too earlier, I think it's been off for a month, but that I will prioritize those who have signed up on the sheets in the back, and then, so I'll go after those, and then I'll open up the council chambers. So with that, is there anyone signed up? Does anyone know on the, thanks, thank you, Director Ness. Thank you. Okay, looks like we do have one person, Heather. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So I'm Heather DeLuca, Airport Neighborhood Association President. One of my constituents in our neighborhood association reached out to Jessica Schoen in September of '24 and asking how to go about the process to get this no parking signage off of his block, just his block. And so we reached out to the city and got connected with Al Rinka, and he said this is the process. And so Chad Peterson, he has an unusual schedule. He is a deputy chief for Altoona Fire, and his wife works at Mayo, and their son works at Mayo, and the other son goes to CVTC, and none of them have schedules that match. So they're constantly changing their cars around, and they have a very short driveway, and he's received quite a few tickets, and so have other people doing things, parking in the street during the day hours. So when he's working nights, he does stuff during the day, and his time schedule is kind of weird. But he brought it forward to the neighborhood association with Jessica's help. We addressed the situation with Alrinka. We put it in our agenda, and immediately we got a huge reply because they all thought we were taking all of the parking, no parking signs away, and they're like, no, please, please, please don't take them from our street. So it narrowed it right down to 2 streets, and it was Uranus and Saturn. Chad came forward with the one from Uranus, and another person mentioned they'd be interested in Saturn. So I went through the Saturn from Eddy to Frisbee, and they were about a 50-50. Some want it to stay and some want it to go. So I said, nope, you guys aren't consistent enough. You're not moving forward to the council. The Uranus property, that block, he had all but 2. The one right across the street from him was being renovated, so nobody was living there at the time. And then the one on the corner of Eddy and Uranus, I think it's 1505, it was a rental, and the renters would not sign it, and he was struggling to find out the landlord. Eventually that Eddy Lane property sold. It's now sold to somebody, but the lights are on, but nobody lives there. And that's been for the last 2 months, and he's been trying for the last 2 months to try and finalize that petition. When he sent the petition in, the renovation house had not been moved into. And he has been trying to, rectify add on to the petition and add things, but yeah, he just has really weird hours. He's awake when we're all asleep, and he can't come and ring your doorbell and ask for your signature and stuff. Then a few people on Frisbee mentioned they were interested, and there were 4 houses there. He got 2 of the 4. I tried to get the other 2, but couldn't get responses from those people either. The history is that, yes, when the North High School, you had to pay a fee to park into the parking lot at the school, and all the kids said forget it, and they all parked in the neighborhood, and they were cross parking, sort of like how they do in the 3rd Ward, where the front of your car is over the edge of the driveway and the other back end of the car is over the driveway, and the people couldn't get out to go to work. There was harassment going on, and kids were sitting on people's lawn chairs, eating their food, leaving their garbage, and doing kind of unsavory things in the neighborhood, and that's what prompted it. I moved in 99, and it was right about that time, so it's been about 25 years. And the majority say no, they don't want the signs to go away, but this very specific property, like Director Ness said, it's the farthest north, the farthest west. They don't have anybody they think are gonna park there, and they'd like to have the council support the petition.
Thank you, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that background. I don't see questions for you, so.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone in council chambers like to speak on this agenda item on the no parking on Uranus Avenue by North High School? Okay, not seeing any. So we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is left turns prohibited. This is a public discussion on an ordinance amending Table 12 entitled Left Turn Prohibited of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Eau Claire to restrict turning movements at several intersections in response to safety concerns and removing outdated intersection information. And Director Ness is back.
Good evening again. The main intersection of focus for this ordinance change is at Riverview Drive and State Trunk Highway 312, or US Highway 312, the North Crossing. The city and DOT have received continued feedback related to the geometry of this intersection. and safety concerns. A couple different alternatives were looked at this location. Traffic signals due to the hill are not a viable alternative due to sight distance issues at this location. So traffic signals are not a control change that would be considered at this location. What is being proposed is kind of a pilot project within the city of Eau Claire and with the DOT. It's really restricting turning movements during specific hours. It would prohibit left turns and through movements from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and between 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. There would be physical signage such as is shown on the screen, and then there will be a light up illuminated sign that will light up between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and then 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Showing the restricted left turn at the intersection. This would be for both northbound and southbound movements from Riverview Drive. It would not impact the turning movements from State Trunk or US Highway 312. This was presented at the Airport Neighborhood Association. There were some people for, some against the restriction. The other alternative that could be considered at this location that the city felt was very restrictive to the residents would be to close the turning movement entirely and not allow for left turns or through movements at this location. And that would take away the safety concern of motorists trying to accept the smaller gaps in traffic when there's a lot of traffic on 312 and you want to make that left turn and there's not a lot of time in between vehicles. If the median were closed on 312 and you were not able to make that left turn, that would really change the traffic patterns in this area. It would have a larger impact on the neighborhood. So we thought that it was a good alternative to move forward with the DOT on starting with a smaller restriction, just restricting the movements during certain times of the day at this location. The other items on the table that are looking at changes are just updating similar turn restrictions along South Hastings Way, which was done many years ago. They've operated and are signed that way, but it's just getting the ordinance up to date to match what is in the field. And then additionally, we're removing some of the restrictions that geometric changes have been made at certain locations in the downtown: Dewey Street, Lee Street, Railroad Street, and Gibson Street. They were all left turn restricted previously, and that's no longer the case at those locations. So just a little update on the ordinance language, since we were also introducing this new restriction to a similar table. I can take questions related to this item.
Thank you, Director Ness. Councilmember Schoen?
Thank you, Council President Berge. Director Ness, I have two questions. One is really brief, which is, I think you mentioned staff going to the Airport Neighborhood Association, and I'm wondering if you could clarify. I think I'm aware that staff and DOT attended the Dells Park Neighborhood Association. I'm wondering if that's what you meant, or if there was also another meeting with the airport.
You're correct. It was the Dells Park Neighborhood Association. It was held at the VFW earlier this year.
Thank you. And can I have a second question? So representing the north side, this is my district. I definitely have been stuck at this intersection trying to turn left, and I would also love to have stoplights here. And I just want to make sure I understand clearly, and for the benefit of who might be listening or in council chambers here tonight, is something that DOT would have to choose to do based on the metrics that they evaluate and allocate funds towards it? Is that correct, or is there something that the city could do to prompt stoplights to be placed here?
This intersection is controlled by the DOT. we have been working with them on the time of day restriction here. Looking at traffic signals, the sight distance at this location would require some significant grade changes in the area to accommodate traffic signals. And then additionally, their funding at this location, they would have to apply for safety-related funding. But my understanding is that the intersection does not meet the metrics for that type of funding at this time. It is something, this intersection, we, truthfully, even when I was in the consulting world previously, before I worked at the city, over 12 years ago, I remember looking at this intersection for very similar concerns. So it's something that has been an ongoing issue for many years.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Boga?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Nas. I have one question. I use this road, Riverview Street a lot. So I'm just wondering, have you guys have traffic analysis, and is there any fatality or accident which has occurred in this area?
So that's kind of the metrics that the DOT looks at for doing their safety improvement projects. It did not warrant major geometric changes based off of the crash patterns that were happening out here. Just the close calls and the feedback that we've been receiving from the public is initiating this. It's not a pattern of left turn crashes at this location.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Council President. Director Ness, you mentioned the main proposal here would be to restrict left turns from 7 to 9 a.m. and then 2 to 6 p.m. You said the more restrictive one that people were not in favor of was no left turns. I was kind of wondering, having, in the morning and the gap and then again in the evening, was it any thought, or maybe it was already thought of and not followed up, just to have a solid like from 7 to 6? That way it's more uniform? Or do you think with the signage, because we're going to have like a LED sign saying, well, you cannot turn, so it'd be clear anyone coming up, is that correct? So probably doing a full closure wouldn't be necessary with the signage? Is that the thought process?
The thought process too is to really meet driver expectations. So when traffic is not as heavy out there and there are acceptable gaps in the traffic, we wouldn't want to put that restriction on the driver during that time frame. So at this time, this was based off of current counts at this location, acceptable gaps, and then the way we worded the written ordinance is that the time frame is based on engineering discretion. So if we see that there is a change in the future that needs to be made, we could adjust the hours accordingly if we start to see issues in those time gaps.
Sure, but right now somebody at 1 p.m. is going to be like, why can't I turn left? There's plenty of space, basically the engineering perspective right now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Reed?
Thank you, Council President. Hi, Director Ness. Did I hear you say that this is like a first for the state of Wisconsin, or?
I can't speak to the entire state, but with the Northwest region, this is something new that they have not implemented in other areas. So this, we did enter into a MOU with them, a memorandum of understanding outlining who's taking care of the electrical related to this, who's taking care of the poles, who's going to replace signage if something is knocked down. So we have an agreement with them on how that would operate.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question, kind of what Councilmember Schoen was saying about a stoplight. And I, as a former North Side rep, it's been an ongoing discussion, as you know, Director Ness too. But has a roundabout ever been discussed? Not to add a new, but
I think it may have been an alternative, this being a state trunk highway or under their jurisdiction. I have not personally looked at a roundabout as an alternative.
Yeah. Just wondering, the creative. Okay, thanks. All right. Thank you, Director Ness. So we do have 2 people signed up. So we'll start there and then I'll open up to council chambers. We have John. Yep, come on down. And the lights will show you how much time you have. So.
Thank you. My name is John Dunn. I live at 3130 Riverview Drive. I've been there for over 20 years, so I'm a longtime driver on Riverview Drive. I have unfortunately seen the aftermath of a number of accidents at that intersection. One time it even included a car that ended up on its roof. I end up going through that intersection daily and sometimes multiple times daily. And I don't think there's ever a time, or it's very rare, where you can actually pull up the stop sign and either make a left-hand turn or go straight through the intersection without having to stop and wait for traffic. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that intersection is always busy. One question that I have that I'm not sure if I heard correctly, and that is with those hours that you're talking about, is that weekdays or is that 7 days a week?
It's hard to do question and answer during this time, but we will or Leah will follow up with you right after the meeting, or Leah will, or Director Ness will.
It sounded like the way it was stated, it was weekdays, which maybe as a result there'd be less business traffic on the weekends. But what that does not take into consideration is the trailer traffic going to the boat landing on Riverview. Arguably, that's the busiest boat landing in the city of Eau Claire, and the parking lot on almost any given day, and certainly on weekends, is full of cars. The auxiliary parking lot is full, and they're lining up and down Riverview Drive. To try to take a left-hand turn with a boat trailer is, you can imagine, very problematic. Most cases, when you do make a left-hand turn, or even going straight through the intersection, you can only get out halfway. You end up stopping diagonally out in the middle, basically blocking both left turn lanes coming off the North Crossing, and you sit there until you feel there's enough of a gap to continue on your turn or continue straight through the intersection. Obviously, hauling a boat trailer, you don't have that option to go halfway out. You gotta wait until you can get all the way across or make the turn all the way. So, you know, having this just on weekdays when you might have the additional business traffic, I don't think really fully addresses the issue at that intersection. It's a dangerous intersection by anybody's standards that's ever spent any time there. The obvious solution that, of course, everybody comes up with is, well, put in stoplights like you have across the river on Old Wells. Old Wells has a fraction of the traffic that Riverview does. But you do have a longer line of sight, there's no question about that. But you're also going down that hill at 50 miles an hour when you're coming from the west going east. And that hill is actually steeper than it is coming from the other direction on the other side of the river. So I guess my thought is that having lights at that intersection should be something that should be reconsidered, and perhaps slow down the speed limit on the North Crossing from 45 to 40, again, to give more time to be able to anticipate the light ahead of you. The other thing that I had on my list, which is the roundabout. I certainly think that should be considered at that intersection. We have them all around town. We have them in other places, like out towards the old Gander Mountain, out there where Camping World is. That roundabout is, the speed limit is higher, is faster than it is. So I don't think the speed limit is an issue. I definitely think that a roundabout would be considered, but again, I would still be in favor of stoplights at that intersection, working around the line of sight issue.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
We're out of time, so
Yep,
but I
get it.
appreciate I wrote down, and we'll have Director Ness get back to you about that question.
Okay.
It's a good question, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, do you have a question? Yep, Councilmember Miller has a question for
Thanks,
you.
Council President. Mr. Dunn, no, actually, just to give you your answer right now, it does say in the summary in our packet that weekdays is what is initially being considered. To answer your question, it was initially just proposed for weekdays.
The way I read it was just weekdays,
Yeah, so that's correct. I just want to let you know
which
that.
does not address the boat issue
Sure, yeah, I
on
think the way you
weekends.
said into consideration, but just to answer your question, it is initially only weekdays, but, we consider. And then the second question I have for you, how's the deer population going these days? You know, the answer right now.
Very
You might
healthy.
remember him
That's
from the-
after the meeting
the
discussion?
deer- the deer
Yeah,
surveys
yes,
Mr. Dunn
yes.
has passed.
They're very healthy. On the downside, just so people know that the chronic wasting disease has been discovered very close to the city of Eau Claire on Priory Road, and probably are in the city limits now. So that's having chronic wasting disease is a very negative thing and is now invading the city of Eau Claire.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, stop feeding the deer at home. All right. Mary, nice to see you.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, all. I'm Mary McManus. I live at 3905 Riverview Drive. And I have a couple of points that I would like to share and to ask about. Just to clarify, Director Ness, when you talk about metrics for the different reasons for not doing things, we're talking primarily about significant injury to individuals or property or loss of life. Is that correct?
Again, it's hard, the questionnaire, it
Yeah.
can't really do question and answer,
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
can get you the answers.
That would
so,
be
yeah.
something to consider, certainly.
Yeah.
That slope of the hill, a slope shouldn't prevent there from being some flashing yellow caution lights. I think I'm familiar with, having read the packet and looking at the signage. I'm also familiar with your agenda for the following meeting on the 26th, where you're talking about road construction on Marquette Street being closed off. And so I would hope that if you're moving forward with this project, you can ask the state to delay installation of this signage until the construction on Marquette Street is complete. If you're familiar at all with the north side of 312, Marquette, if you're headed north, is the first right turn that goes up to North High School and the tennis courts and the fields and so on. For people who are new to this signage, they'll be doing U-turns there and then going back to Marquette to go up to Star Avenue or to Mercury or, whichever way they're going. If Marquette is closed, they have to come all the way back down to my end of Riverview, which is right at the intersection of East Riverview and Riverview Drive. And you're thinking about my neighbors who are hardworking individuals, who are taxpayers, who love living where they're living, the inconvenience of having to make that 2-mile run, because Marquette will be under construction, it won't be accessible, I'm presuming, will be significant. So that's one request that I have, is for you to consider and move forward on delaying the start of the signage with the state until that Marquette Street construction is done. If it's anything like the Riverview project or the Eddy project, it takes from May until November. Then, going back to those metrics pieces, it's hard to quantify quality of life. And pulling up to that intersection and being fearful of being hit or of hitting someone is, certainly a daily thing for a lot of people. I would hope that people in this council and in the city management would be working with the state reps we have to explore the statute that guides this. What is that state statute that guides DOT? And how can we implement change in that? This can't be the only intersection in the entire state of Wisconsin that is having a similar kind of circumstance. It just would boggle my mind if it was, and then we should put a sign up, welcome to the first. But really looking at how did those laws develop? What are those required metrics? Why do we wait until something happens to make something positive and helpful happen and to go forward from there. So that's it for today. There were 12 deer in my neighbor's yard yesterday afternoon.
That's a lot, yeah. Popular, North Side.
Welcome to
Yeah.
the north side.
Yes, yes, thanks,
Thank you.
Mary. Okay, anyone in council chambers like to speak on this agenda item? So this is the left turns prohibited agenda item. All right, not seeing anyone. So that is done with our public discussion, so we'll move on to our public comment period. And so I'll just go over, we do have different parameters around this time. So this time is for those who live or own a place of business in the city of Eau Claire to speak on citywide issues. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and the lights will indicate how much time you have left. So green means keep talking, yellow is 1 minute left, and red is please stop talking. And I'll remind you to please stop talking so we can get everyone, so everyone has a chance to speak. You can only speak one time. Please do not comment on any previous agenda items. Also, this time is not for personal remarks of city personnel, elected officials, or any person affiliated with the city. And this part is different where council members cannot ask questions or comment during this time because it is not listed on the agenda. So, but we certainly are listening, and this time will last for 20 minutes. I will say too, there are blue cards in the back of the room. If you wanna add more written to you or don't get a chance or don't feel comfortable speaking, you can fill out the blue cards, which will be turned into council by the clerk. And then emails email's a good way to get a hold of us. So with that, we'll go to our public comment period, and I'll prioritize those who have signed up, and we have 2 people signed up, and then I will go, we'll open up to council chambers. So first, it's Craig.
Council members.
Hi, good afternoon,
Madam President.
or evening.
Craig Reen, 3014 Seymour Road, Eau Claire. I'm looking for a parking variance or a parking permit. I got a parking violation. I drive a semi and I back the semi off of Seymour Road. I live straight north of the FedEx facility,
Yep.
which is industrial or heavy use. So I back off of Seymour onto my property, and I've been there for 10 years. And I guess I knew, but I didn't know that there was I'm big trucks in residential, but I don't live in residential. I live right at the edge or the side of residential, off a truck road basically. So I'm looking to see if I can get some sort of a parking permit. I've dealt with Brandon on trying to find a place to park my truck, which is impossible. The city of Eau Claire is not big truck friendly as far as parking goes. If you pull for like Menards, they've got parking for their trucks and stuff like that. But for me to rent a parking spot, it's the cheapest is $750 a month, up to $1,000 a month. And I need electricity because in wintertime you have to plug the semis in, so they start. So I'm kind of at wit's end here. I've actually looked outside of Eau Claire to if I can't get some sort of a permit or something. Of selling my house and buying somewhere else. So I hate doing that because I've been here 10 years and I grew up in Bloomer, and Bloomer's just small. Eau Claire, I'm 5 minutes from every place. So I guess that's the gist of my, if I could pay for a permit, and I get that I'm trying not to open the door for all vehicles. There's a 6,000 pound weight limit on it. Obviously a semi, I weigh more than 6,000. There's a lot of, and I did do a little legwork. I found about 100 vehicles in and around the cities, all like HVAC vans, electrical vans, pickups with plows on them that are commercial. They're all over 6,000 pounds, so there's many violations. Obviously mine is heavier, but knowing what I know about living in the city, the sidewalk is my responsibility. So it was in tough shape when I bought the house, so I fixed it. I made it better so my semi can back in and out, and I redid my driveway. I put up a fence so it's not as easy to see my truck, especially if you're coming out of the west. I did talk to the city about building a garage, so ultimately I want to build a garage to put my truck and trailer in, so then it won't even, nobody will see it. So that's all I have. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you, Craig. All right. Lost my paper. Then we have Heather. Speaking. Hello again.
Hello. Sorry, I didn't give you my address the first time I came up, 3103 Hope Avenue. I'm just here with the news about the new water PFA filtration plant, up in the north side. All of our wells are closed up there. So I'm just here to ask, I did kind of Google some of it before I started to come and ask, but there is $125 million sitting in the joint finance down at the state level. Is the city doing something, connecting with them and trying to move that forward so we can pay off some of our debt with our costs so you don't have to do as big of a water rate increase? It seems like it'd be nice to know that before the increase happens. It seems once you make the increase, it's hard to go backwards and decrease it. I think there's that money. It's still good. It's gaining interest right now until 2027. It's in the current biennium budget. So I'm just asking that the city do some, connection and reaching out and saying, hey, this is a good place to spend it. And I'm sure French Island would like some too, and Peshtigo as well, and so forth. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. All right. That's everyone signed up. So now I'll open it up to council chambers. So if someone would like to speak, sure. Come on. Just want to state your name and address, please.
Stevie Harper, 303 Dodge Street.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. I'm here with some friends. We'd like to address the recent presence of ICE in Eau Claire and encourage the council to take proactive measures within their power to support peace and safety within the community by making Eau Claire a sanctuary city and prohibiting federal agents from wearing face masks. A week ago, ICE was at the government building where many crucial services are accessed by members of our community. On Thursday, following the violence enacted by ICE in Minneapolis, I heard that ICE was outside schools in Eau Claire. Now, we feel strongly that everybody deserves compassion, dignity, and the same human rights provided to citizens, regardless of immigration status. However, no matter your stance on immigration policy, you have to acknowledge the feelings of terror provoked by ICE permeate beyond one's citizenship status. Everyone I've talked to this week is scared for themselves, friends, loved ones, neighbors, and the community as a whole. This fear isn't unfounded, given the excuses the federal government has made for their violence and unjust powers granted to ICE to detain anyone they deem suspicious on the basis of job type, accent, language, or appearance. The people in this community deserve the right to work, get groceries, access healthcare, and go to school without fear. The people in this community deserve a sign from their leaders that they stand with the people of Eau Claire and not with a terrifying federal force. I know local governments are limited in what they can do in opposition to federal laws and agents, so I'm going to focus on what you can do. Make Eau Claire a sanctuary city. Ensure that local law enforcement does not exacerbate the harm that ICE is capable of within Eau Claire. This is not a judgment of Eau Claire PD. We're not suggesting this because of any suspected harmful intentions or actions, but because taking away the option to collaborate with ICE is in the best interest of our community at this time. Here's a quote from the city manager's Friday update summarizing current policy on immigration enforcement. Eau Claire Police Department collaborates with the federal government on immigration issues when an individual has committed a criminal offense. However, they do not if an individual has committed a civil offense, such as most immigration violations. I want to remind everyone here that there are numerous nonviolent criminal offenses and that a criminal offense is not synonymous with threatening public safety. This policy should be updated to prevent collaboration with ICE for all offenses. It is law enforcement's duty to uphold the law indiscriminately, and by cooperating with ICE on some people's cases, they may be subjecting those individuals to a worse fate than the due process of the law. The safety of the community relies on trust between the community and law enforcement. Collaboration between police and ICE could break this trust and could increase people's hesitancy to call emergency services or report a crime. If people hear that police aided ICE, I doubt many would concern themselves with the specifics of the case. So preventing all unnecessary collaboration with ICE and taking a stance as a sanctuary city would be in the best interest for building community trust.
Thank you, Stevie.
I see that I'm out of
Yes,
time.
you are. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Hi, welcome.
Good evening, Council.
evening.
Appreciate y'all having me here.
So state your name and
Yes,
address, please.
Sorry.
That's
Name's
fine.
Nathan Baser. I'm on 225 Summit Avenue. We'd also like to urge the council to pass a policy banning ICE and law enforcement from wearing face masks in order to promote accountability among those upholding the law, to prevent misuse of power, and to promote justice should this position of power be abused. This is a measure we've heard of other cities taking, and that I would encourage the city of Eau Claire to take as well. Seeing the firsthand accounts of things that have happened in Minneapolis, seeing the mass, the terror that's gone down, that does not belong in our community, I believe personally, and we'd urge the council to take measures in at least identifying these agents and not invoking the terror in our communities. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks for coming down. Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Amara Geyser. I live at 225 Summit Avenue. So over the past weekend, over the past week, I had knee surgery. And hearing about what was happening in Minnesota, I wanted to show up. But I personally could not show up to show my neighbors that I was with them in peaceful protesting. So in other words, I was thinking about ways that I could help our community. So I was making a plan to go visit Renee Good's vigil and pay my respects. I was at a friend's house getting ready to leave when I heard screaming 3 flights up in an apartment building. Well, that's where I was. And I heard screaming from up there. And the terror I heard in their voices, I don't wish that for anybody. To be scared to go to the grocery store, to send your kids to school. I ran outside to check to see what was going on, and a man was dragged out from his vehicle and put in cuffs and put into unmarked personal vehicles used by ICE agents. And I want everybody to sit with that. Imagine you're in your car, going to the grocery store, and someone comes up to you and tears you from your car. You've been doing nothing but going to get groceries. How are we supposed to live like this? Now, previously, those were my 2 friends speaking, and I'd urge you guys to listen and process what they said. And just think with your hearts, please. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for coming down. Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Joey. I live at 632 Menominee Street. I just wanted to stand here today and echo what my 3 friends have just said to you. I know there is you guys have limited power, but I know you're all here because you want to make change and you want to protect the people here in Eau Claire. And this will take time and it will take communication to make that change, but I believe that effort and that communication will be worth it to bring a sense of safety to our community here in Eau Claire. So I thank you guys for your consideration, and I urge you all to think about this hard and put in the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Hi, welcome.
Hello, my name is Alejandro, 4426 Echo Valley Drive. This is my first time participating in this, so pardon my informalities, and I want to thank the rest of the people that just spoke. I've lived here. I was born and raised here in Eau Claire. I'm a student at the University of Minnesota, and seeing what has happened in the community recently has been pretty upsetting. And I'm here specifically to meet everyone here and understand better where everyone stands in this place. As members of the council, you guys have a lot of power. You guys have a lot of authority that unfortunately our community does not have. And I want to know, I know you guys can't respond, but I want to know, hopefully I could reach out to you and to see who is willing to help support and be a point of contact in case someone gets taken. Because as we heard before, it's kidnapping, and a lot of the times they only know to call one person. And hopefully we could count on some of you if our constituents get kidnapped. And if hopefully it urges you to think a little bit of what you guys could do too. This was a very impulsive response right now, so it's not fully articulate, so I'm sorry about that. But I really do hope to participate and engage with you guys to help make this a good situation, a better situation than we have right now, because right now it's not good, and a lot of our community members don't know what to do. They don't know their rights, and I don't know the activity that's been going on around here to educate everyone on their rights and how to peacefully and responsibly respond to any situation. But I am looking forward to finding that out, and hopefully you could all support, I guess. Yeah. Sorry for the informalities. Thank you.
No, you're doing great. Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Right. And anyone else to speak? Okay. Anyone else? Just want to make sure. Seems like, as they know, when I look down, that's when someone raises their hand. But I want to make sure. Okay. All right. Well, with that then, just want to thank everyone for coming down. I'm really glad we have this public comment period for people to share, and so thank you for taking time and sitting through I was going to call it boring, but maybe that's offensive to our Director Ness, but I appreciate people showing up, so. All right. Okay, and with that, let me just double check agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.